Hello and welcome to Weighted Donuts. I'm Wayne Unger. I'm here with my co-host Craig Steer. Craig, how are you tonight?
I'm fine, Wayne. I'm excited. We've got our very special guest back on tonight, and that's going to make for a great show. So I'm looking forward to it. How's everything with you?
Everything is good. Yes, tonight we have Rick Peterson. Always good when we have a returning guest. It, tells us we haven't scared anybody off. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you guys? I'm doing great because I haven't eaten any weighted donuts yet. So I'm going to stay away from those. I may swing them, but I'm not going to eat them.
There you go. So,
right.
so Rick, your book came out a week ago.
Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you. Actually, it's our book, Judd and myself, not just mine. Thank you.
Oh, so your the book that you co-authored with Judd, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't want to bastardize it. So,
Hoekstra.
It's Hoekstra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, didn't know if I had to, put that E in there after the O. Just wanted to make sure. So, and tell me, how's the book doing?
You know what? This has gone beyond all of our expectations. We are currently ranked number one in Amazon on the bestseller list of new releases in 2 different categories, which is absolutely amazing. And the feedback has been phenomenal, and the reviews from people who have read the book has been, really just incredible. And I, from the perspective of the fact that this book is about helping people deal with pressure, and probably one of the most amazing emails we got was from a retired vet who's gone through post-traumatic stress disorder. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's
yes.
And PTSD.
Right. And right.
PTSD.
And
right, that's it.
His comment was, I've been going through this whole mental, I'm rephrasing, but this whole mental torture for years, and I got this book from a friend of mine, and now I have a strategy. I wish I would have had this book years ago, and now I have a strategy to deal with this pressure situation that happens for me every single day, and to have a game plan to deal with when these pressure situations come up. And mentally, I feel like I'm feeling this freedom and this calmness. And that was not our target audience by any means, So to hear that comment that we've actually, helped somebody from that standpoint, because what really connected Judd and I together, what bonded us before we started this book project, is that we share one common thread: make a difference in someone else's life in a positive way. And we felt that we had some conventional wisdom through our own personal experiences that we could offer this. And Judd put it.
Rick, where did you meet Judd? Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, I'm gonna try to make this as brief as I can. But when in 2009, when I set out with the New York Mets, and Willie Randolph and I got let go in June of 2008, and I chose to sit out in 2009 unless I got a tremendous offer. And I said, you know what, I'm going to just rejuvenate myself and get my mind in a whole different place. And so, long story short, so in February of 2009, Billy Beane calls me and said, Rick, you're not going to believe this, but they're doing a movie on Moneyball, and Brad Pitt's playing yours truly, Billy Beane. I said, come on, get the heck out. Are you kidding me? And so he said, I just got off the phone with Steven Soderbergh, who's going to be the director of Moneyball, and he asked for your number, and he wants to talk to you about the movie project. I said, whatever I can do to help out, I'm happy to help. So long story short, when Michael Lewis was writing Moneyball, I sat next to Michael on the team bus for that entire season, going from the hotel to the airport to the ballpark and back to the airport again. And I learned so much from Michael. So the next day I get a call from Steven Soderbergh, and he says, Rick, I'm a baseball fanatic first, and pitching is my favorite part of the game. Can't wait to talk to you about pitching. But the reason I called, I want to offer you the opportunity to be the technical director of Moneyball. I said, geez, technical director of Moneyball? Are you kidding? I said, I'm all in. I don't know what a technical director does, but I'm all in. So he explained to me what the role would be. So we spoke for, close to an hour. By the time we got off the phone, he said, Rick, how would you like to play yourself in the movie? I said, geez, I play myself in my own movie. I just will play myself in yours. I would love to. So his version of the movie, which never got done, had over 20 of us playing ourselves. Art Howe, Chad Bradford, David Justice, Scott Hatterberg, all the scouts, Grady Fuson and the scouting directing, or scouting team. And so I worked for 5 months with Steven Soderbergh. And we had these lengthy conversations about dealing with pressure. And Steven said, you know what, on the set, when I come on a set, like with a Brad Pitt to do a scene, I want to make sure that I am so peaceful and that my mind is so calm and so present and that my headspace is to make sure that everything slows down. Because in directing a movie, things can speed up so fast, and then before you know it, you have to redo it. And he said, when things start to speed up, I basically call a timeout and send everybody away, and then I look for the solution. So Steven would ask me, Rick, what do you say when you go to a mound? When you go to the mound in the midst of a game, because the pitching coach is the only person in all of sports, in professional sports, that has a uniform on that can call timeout and run out on the field in front of 50,000 people in a playoff game on national television with 70 million people watching, and have a private conversation for 30 to 45 seconds to get this guy's mind calm and focused back on the situation. We have time to call timeout on the set. So we would have these lengthy conversations, and they were just incredibly awesome. So you're talking about Michael Lewis, Steven Soderbergh. So one story led to the next, and Steven and Michael both said, you know what, you need to write a book. And I said, you know what, I don't really have writing skills, and I'm not going to do a book about me, and I'm not going to do a book about baseball. But I'd love to do a book about how people deal with pressure, to look at the opportunity and reframe it from a threat to an opportunity to perform at their best. And that's how this whole process started. And then because I read The 1 Minute Manager, Ken Blanchard's, one of his first bestsellers early in my career, and that totally impacted me to really get a concise message. I got 30 to 45 seconds on the mound to get our pitcher's mind calm and focused. And I called Ken. I said, Ken, how would you like to do a book? He said, gosh. He goes, Rick, what a great idea. I'd love to, but my calendar is totally booked. But Judd Hoekstra, one of my co-authors for multiple different books, actually pitched at Cornell, and I think he'd be definitely interested. And Billy Bean's mom, how about this? Billy Bean's mom worked for the Ken Blanchard Foundation for over 20 years, which is incredible. So Judd called me, and we hit it off, and I paraphrased it again and said, Judd, this has to be about sports to business, business to sports, not about me, not about baseball, but about the concept of leadership skills to help people make a difference in their lives, to perform under pressure and optimize your performance. Incredible.
And who played you in the movie?
Nobody, because what happened was I spent 5 months with Steven on this movie project, and we went through the script, and we went through all these different things that happened during the whole Moneyball year. And then about a week before the movie was going to be filmed, we all went out to Hollywood to really get the costumes down and wardrobe and all the details. And every day I would report to Steven's office on the set, on the Hollywood set in West Hollywood. And I said, Steven, what do you need me to do today? So he'd tell me, Rick, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, whatever. And I would, ask him about different things, and he would give me assignments. And then about 3 or 4 days into it, I got to his office. He said, and his assistant said, Steven's down on the set. He needs you to go down on the set. Have some, things he wants to go over with you. So I get down on the set, so it's a Hollywood set, which is so foreign to anything I've ever witnessed. And about, 60 feet away, 70 feet away, Steven's over there, and, there's a bunch of people there, and they're filming, they have the mics, and, I'm talking to the assistant. I said, so what are they doing? They said, well, they're practicing this scene, and, they're going through this and going through that. And I said, wow, that's pretty cool, And I really couldn't see, like, people. I'm just watching, like, a scene from a distance. So, afterwards, about 15 minutes later, Steven starts walking towards me. I'm walking towards him because they told me he wanted to see me. So before you know it, like, I'm standing right next to Steven. To my right, on my left is Brad Pitt, and this other person standing in front of me, and I'm listening to Steven and Brad Pitt talk about the scene that they just practiced. And I'm like going, wow, this is like so surreal. It's just unbelievable. And my friends are calling me like, hey, so what are you doing? Like you're not in baseball this summer. What are you doing with your life? I said, I was taking a walk on the boardwalk down at the beach in New Jersey in February, thinking like, I gotta think it's something cool to do this summer. I'm thinking maybe I'll do maybe I'll do a movie with Steven Soderbergh and Brad Pitt. They're like, what? So about 2 days later, I go to this to Steven's office, and he's he kind of like gives me like he's on the phone. He's like gives me like, hey, hang on 1 second. And so he gets off the phone. I said, are you okay? He said, you know what? I've been like banging heads with the Sony executives for the last like month or so, and they don't like what I've done with the script. And they're looking at the script saying, Steven, this scene, there's no dialogue. There's nothing in the script. He said, you don't get it. When I get Art Howe and David Justice and Bradford and Hatterberg and scouts and the coaches in this, scene, I can't write what they said to each other. They'll remember like things that are locked in their mind. And apparently what I understood, during that time is that typically when my understanding is that when they have a script, like these actors memorize the script. They're not freelancing. And so, these actors like Brad Pitt, they were going to freelance with us. And I think it came down to a point where, Sony was getting nervous about it. And the day before we're ready to film, Steven calls a meeting in the hotel lobby. And, Art Howe's there, the players, myself, a bunch of people. And Steven walks in and he goes, geez, Sony has pushed the pause button on the movie. I got 2 weeks to come up with a new production company and $50,000 or $50 million, or else they're going to take it out of my hands. And we all said, geez, $50 million for a Brad Pitt movie? You can't raise that? And apparently they couldn't. And 2 weeks later, he called me and said, you know what, it's the movie's off, and they're going to start all over again and write a new script and bring in a new director. But during that time, that's when the whole book really manifested, because we would have these long talks about, dealing with pressure in multiple different situations in business and, as a movie director, as a pitching coach, or, all the people that were involved. And, that's really how it evolved. And it came together, and Judd, I got to say, Judd nailed it. He totally nailed this. It's literally a handbook. It's kind of like a chicken soup for the soul book for dealing with pressure. And there's multiple different chapters that give you a strategy to deal with pressure in your own personal life, whether it's family or financial, or career. We all deal with pressures in our own private lives, and some, at a lower level, dealing with their children or whatever, career issues, and or at the highest level of professional sports, like the Super Bowls. We're all looking for the Super Bowl. It's like, wow, you're talking about pressures right here, and how do you deal with fear, worry, and doubt? And everybody's going through it, because only one team's going to win this game.
So, can you give us? All right. I mean, I read the book. I bought the book, so of course I had to get my money's worth and read it. So, take us through maybe to. I mean, you talk about reframing. Give us, if you can, try to give us something related to a layman as opposed to sports. It's where typical family situation, how someone can reframe. Can you give us something like that?
Yeah, I mean, well, give me an example, and I'll give you the reframe.
Okay. Bankruptcy. Guy loses his job. He's going to lose his house. He's going to lose his wife. And what's he going to do? The first thing he's going to do, he's going to panic. He's probably going to come from an angry place at his wife. Probably is going to panic about what he's going to do for money. He might compromise himself. How does he reframe?
Yeah, so I think let's say from that standpoint. So let me like clarify the situation if I can, and then I would give you an example of how we would coach that space. So here's a guy who's going to go through. He's got financial pressures with his business, and he's going to go through a divorce, and so he needs to sit down with his wife. So it becomes all emotional. It's like, oh wow, they don't like each other. There's a lot of hate involved. There's a lot of posturing involved. And then he needs to really sit down with his wife, or people who are going to communicate with each other if they can't do it, together, and say, listen, this is like a business, okay? All right, so we have property, we have a home, we have assets, we split this 50-50, and now we have, a situation where I have a career, maybe you have a career, let's assume that she has a career, and then you say, all right, let's come to an equitable place, let's be fair. There's the pie just got smaller, but let's split it up. And then, we're not happy with each other because we don't really like each other. We don't like being with each other on a daily basis. And hopefully, we may not be in the same place financially as we were before. We may be in a lesser place, but emotionally, we'll be in a happier place because you'll go your way, I'll go my way, and we'll reframe this and say, hopefully we'll meet, another partner, or we'll meet other people. We'll be around friends and family, in a separate way. But at least our minds will be in a peaceful way, and this will be, we'll be in a happier place. And we'll reframe this to say that, okay, let's win with less. Let's win with less. Money is not the end all for people's happiness. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that are not happy. We all know that. And, so, they reframe it and say, okay, let's scale this down, and let's go our own ways in a peaceful way, and let's start a brand new life, like we did when we first met, because that was really a special time when we first met, and we'll start a whole new life, and let's reframe it and say, let's get a Hallmark card and say, hey, don't worry, be happy, and then you bring a little humor to it. And say, this is going to be a tough time to go through this, but we'll get through it. Then you look at the space where how many people have gone through this, a zillion people. And you come out on the other side, because people make a choice to be happy or not. That's a choice that people make. And if you can get your mind in a calm and peaceful space and understand and look at any situation and ask, what's the opportunity? Let's go back like years ago financially. When we went through the most major recession in the history of the world, back in the 20s, more people became self-made millionaires during that crash than any other time in the history of the world. So a lot of people looked at the opportunity. Not everybody looked at how bad this is going to go. So when you can really shift your mind and just really ask yourself, just stop. When things are at the worst that they can possibly be, push the pause button and stop and ask yourself, what is the opportunity? Because most people focus on problems. Successful people, highly successful people, they focus on solutions. What's the opportunity? What's the solution? There's an opportunity and solution there. It may not be an easy path. It may not be an easy road, but there's an opportunity there. And when we can seek the opportunity, we'll find a solution, because there's a solution every place.
Very well put.
Tell me something. Yes, tell me something. Who who in your mind, who comes to your mind when, let's say somebody in baseball who you pretty much didn't have to share your ideas with, like someone who you met, a pitcher or position player who you met and it was like, wow, like this guy, he's already got it. I don't need to say a word to him. He's already got it. Does anybody come to mind?
There's a lot of people that come to mind, but what I can tell you is that all the people that got it, and this goes through everyone in our daily lives. You have it today, you may not have it tomorrow. And every single person, I mean, let me make a brief list. Tom Glavine, Pedro Martinez, Johan Santana, Billy Wagner, Trevor Hoffman, Michael Jordan, Frank Thomas, Bo Jackson, these, Roger Clemens. I mean, that's just off the top of my mind. These are people that I was around as a coach to witness. And again, I'm not trying to come across as like I coach these people to make a difference in their lives. I'm not saying that. They made a difference in my life. So if you're going to be a great teacher, the prerequisite to be a great teacher, you have to be a great student. You have to be a great student. And the people, these lists of people I just met or just mentioned that I met, that I had the privilege to be around them as a coach. Some of them I coached, some of them I witnessed. They were my teacher. They taught me. And if you're going to coach a Hall of Famer, as I've had coach a Hall of Famer, Tom Glavine, Pedro Martinez, Trevor Hoffman will eventually become a Hall of Famer. They became my teacher first. They taught me all about them, and I went through a whole process with each one of them. They taught me about them so that I could understand, okay, how can I reflect back for what they felt like they needed to be coached, if I could say that clearly.
Yeah,
so,
that's interesting.
So when you ask that question, so Tom Glavine, for example, Tom Glavine, to be very specific, Tom Glavine, the number one thing he taught me about him, he said, Rick, always keep me focused. Always keep me focused on the process. I always want to be focused on the process, whether it's my bullpen, my workout, in-game, umpires making calls, the whole deal. Keep me focused on the process. And here's a great story, which is not in the book. I mean, I haven't really talked about this. Tom Glavine had 299 wins. He's going for 300. We're in Milwaukee. Tom Glavine is getting squeezed by a rookie umpire. And I was always, I shouldn't say always, I was almost always respectful of umpires. When I spoke to them, I was very calm, very peaceful. I spoke to them. I never swore. I didn't go through antics. I didn't argue. This particular time, because it was a rookie umpire, because I felt like this guy did not get this. I mean, it was a minor league umpire that came up to replace a major league umpire on vacation. And Tom Glavine's going for number 300 in Milwaukee. Number 300. And this guy is squeezing him like you can't even believe. And Tommy he wouldn't blink. He took punishment like nobody I've ever seen. Like he's making pitch after pitch after pitch, ball, 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 ball. And he's just like, gets the ball back. And I would go back after the inning and look at these pitches, and I'm going, are you freaking kidding me? These are strikes. And I said, and I come back, and Tommy's like, he goes, Rick, in between innings, I'm in the dugout. He's like, listen, these are pitches. I'm making these pitches. I said, Tommy, the umpire is not part of the process. Just make a pitch. Whatever he calls, he calls. You make a pitch. They're not connected. They're not connected. And at the same time, I'm thinking, they're totally connected. I mean, on the other side of the coin, I'm like, I was giving him back what he asked me to give him as the coach. So finally, about the 6th or 7th inning, and I think Tom had a 1 or 2 run lead in my memory back in that time, and our bullpen, we couldn't close it out for him, and he got his win in Chicago, his next start. But I went out to the mound, and I saw his frustration, and I finally said, you know what, like, I'm going out there, like, now I'm like, I'm trying to think how to say this politely on a podcast.
It's okay. We're not censored here.
No, well, I'm not going to say it. I said, frick this, whatever. So I get to the mound, and I'm looking at Tommy in the eye, and I said, Tommy, take a deep breath. I'm going to wait till he comes out here, and then I'm going to say what I need to say to him, but I'm going to look at you. So the umpire's behind me. He gets out there, and I said, this guy's been doing this for frickin' 18 frickin' years. His intent is to throw a strike. Look for strikes. Look for fricking strikes. His intent is to throw a strike. Look for strikes. And I'm saying to myself as I'm saying this, and I'm looking at Tom. The umpire's behind me. I'm not even looking at the umpire. And I'm saying to myself, oh, my God, I can't believe he's not throwing me out of this game. And then, I finished, and then as we walked away, then I looked at the umpire in the eye. I said, you know what, you're a really good umpire. And, he's throwing a lot of strikes, and I know you're a good strike umpire. You need to start calling some strikes. And then I laughed at him after I turned back around. And then he did. He did, so there's multiple different ways to deal with pressure and, to deliver your message. And I think if you have compassion, I maybe sound corny about this, but I don't feel corny about it, but it may sound corny. If you have love and compassion and you have generosity and wisdom and you're authentic about who you're going to connect with, and you really do it in that way to really come from a place of, from a heartful place to make a difference in people's lives, then you're coming from a really genuine place. And I think when people understand that, at least in my personal experiences in my life of being around Hall of Famers and some of the best in sports and connecting with Judd and then being around Ken Blanchard and Betsy Myers and Marshall Goldsmith and, some of the people in business, Michael Lewis, who's he's an icon in Wall Street. It's like, wow, they're all the same. What they share is this inner wisdom with love and compassion to really connect with people, to make a difference in people's lives in an incredible, powerful way, because we're all interconnected. We're totally all interconnected, globally. And when everybody understands that, and we can really communicate with each other in that way and share our own personal wisdom, that we can help people in that way, that's the essence of life. You can make a difference every day in people's lives.
So true. So very true.
So now, Rick, I know you don't have a lot of time. Tell me something. Are you still involved in the game? Are you still following the game a lot as well?
I'm following the game. I was on MLB Network a week ago. My plan right now is I started a new chapter in my life, which I'm incredibly excited about. The most excited I've ever been in my life. And I spent 40 years in professional baseball, and there's not really much more I can really accomplish. And as far as making a difference in people's lives and looking at how many people you can reach, I realized after this book came out and the phenomenal job that Judd did in communicating this in a printed word in a beautiful way, that I met with some people and said, okay, I've done about 30 corporate speaking events over the years. How can I get into this and really do this as a living and get the platform to do podcasts and media, radio and keynote events and corporate workshops and work with leadership groups about teaching them these concepts. And the people that have been kind of coaching me in this area, because this is not the area I've been involved with, they encouraged me, said, Rick, you got to go for this. I mean, you have a message that is really incredible, and the wisdom that you have from coaching, Hall of Famers, Cy Young Award winners, All-Stars, Michael Jordan, being around Michael Jordan, and, all these people, you need to go for this. And I said, you know what, I'm going to I'm going to start a new chapter in my life. And I did an audition for a TED Talk last week, and in the total, like the final finalists of the TED Talk, and I'm hopeful to do a TED Talk, coming up. And I said, as I said, I was on MLB Network, and I'm talking to them about maybe doing some spots on the network, maybe a couple times a month, maybe 30 times a year, something like that. And I'm starting a new chapter in my life, and I'm incredibly excited. And I hope the people that are going to listen to this podcast, and if you have some opportunities for me to speak or come in and do some coaching and whatever, this is where I'm going in my life.
Oh,
Excellent.
That's real exciting. That's real exciting. Hey, Rick, I mentioned to you and also to Wayne that I was driving in the car the other day, and I heard Richard Neer and Bob Clappish from the Bergen Record refer to something that you had said, and I'm not sure where they heard you. Maybe it was on the MLB Network, but you were commenting on how the Mets have used and should be using Noah Syndergaard. Was that from MLB? I didn't catch their whole.
Oh, I did an article with Daily News with John Harper, and
okay.
When you do an interview with a writer, you never know what he's going to write, and you never know how it's going to come across. And the one thing I realized from the Daily News or from being in New York over the years, writers write the story, but they have a whole nother group, I should say, that write the headlines. So the headline in the Daily News is Rick Peterson has a solution to keep the Mets pitchers healthy. And someone told me that the headline, I went like, are you kidding me? Come on, I mean, number one, even if I thought that, do you think I'd say that? Oh, absolutely not. And number two, it's like, how unfair it is. Whoever these guys are that write the headline, they're sitting somewhere in a cubicle and they go, well, here's a cool headline. We can ruin Rick's life and act like he knows everything, and who knows who the hell I am and where he's going. But anyway, John did a great article. But the point of the article regarding Syndergaard was wow, this is really a long story. I'm going to make it really short. When I was with the Mets, I had the unbelievable privilege, one of the greatest privileges of my lifetime, to meet Sandy Koufax. And Sandy came to spring training a couple times, and one of the stories we talked about, or one of the concepts we talked about, was how much effort should we put into making the pitch. And, I can get into the whole biomechanical analysis, which I'm not going to do in this topic right now. But Sandy talked about his personal evolution. And this story is in our book, Crunch Time, Try Easy. The concept is try easy rather than try hard, because our parents have always told us, put 110% into everything you do. Well, that's great for your preparation, not for game performances. You need about 85, 90% in game performances. You don't need 110. 110% is not going to produce great results. It's going to produce poor results. So Sandy, in Sandy's words, before Sandy Koufax became Sandy Koufax, the Hall of Famer, he tells a story. He was scheduled to pitch 5 innings at the back end of spring training. And the morning of the game, somebody came to him and said, the person who's going to follow you, the pitcher missed his flight. And so Sandy said, Mike, no problem. I'll pitch a couple more innings. Not a big deal. I'm good. I'm good to go. So Norm Sherry, Sandy's catcher, came to him and said, Sandy, listen, this is not a good time to get really extended with a lot of pitches and a lot of pitch counts. The season is ready to start in a couple of weeks, whatever. Just back off. Back off a little bit. Get your foot off the gas pedal. And, I'm reframing in my own words. Sandy's comment was 85, 90%. That was Norm Sherry's comment to Sandy. Just back off a little bit and pace yourself. Well, in Sandy's words, and I'm going to paraphrase the quote because I don't know the quote exactly. He said, the pitcher that started that game, this is before Sandy Koufax really got his stride and became Sandy Koufax, the pitcher that started that game was transformed into a Hall of Famer. He said, I pitched a no-hitter that game. And I realized after that game, you know what? I don't have to put max effort into every pitch. It's not about my stuff. It's about the way I can locate. And we were in spring training that's one of the springs when I was at the Mets. And in my memory, like Al Leiter was there, Tom Glavine was there, Johnny Franco, Traxel, and then a bunch of young pitchers. And we were all asking Sandy a zillion questions, and it's like, you standing there asking Sandy Koufax questions? Are you freaking kidding me?
Right.
And so one of the comments was about effort level. And Sandy's comment was, take the grunt out of the pitch. Back off, get your foot off the gas pedal. And his comment was, see how easy you can throw hard. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. See how easy you can throw hard. Try easy. And I've had so many pitchers over the years as a major league pitching coach that say, you talk to them the day after, and it's like, what happened last night? God, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying, I was like trying as hard as I possibly could, 110%. And I looked down at their shoes, and they have Nikes on. So I said, what's the slogan for Nike? They said, just do it. I said, wow, man, you need to change your shoes. You need to get to try the just try it on. You're trying way too hard. And not just do it, because trying too hard does not translate into just do it. And Sandy Koufax put it best. See how easy you can throw hard. How brilliant is that?
Pretty brilliant. Pretty brilliant.
So now, as far as the upcoming season goes, is there anybody? Do you like track the players, guys who you might have followed either through the Orioles or checking other organizations? Are there any guys who you're excited to see, young guys you're excited to see come up this year?
Well, I'm excited to see a zillion guys. I can talk for 25 minutes and go through a zillion guys, but spring training.
Give me 5.
Training, I'm excited to see Kevin Gausman. I'm excited to see Dylan Bundy. I'm excited to see if Clayton Kershaw can come back from his back injury. I'm excited to see about Hendricks from the Cubs. Is he the real deal? I believe he is. Greinke coming back. There's 5. I can go another 20 minutes. Talking about 20.
A lot more than
yeah.
We'll have to have you back during the. We'll have to have you back during the season, occasionally. Totally.
I'm excited about really sharing about what this is all about. Because all these guys, a lot of the reasons, some of it's injury and some of it is the mind. And the one thing I realized as a major league coach and in my life and being around all these people, the mind is the master, the body is the servant. The mind is the master, the body is the servant. You watch all these Super Bowl people. This is one of my favorite times of the year. I think NFL does a better job than any sport of all, really profiling all these people that are performing. And they go, Tom Brady, you look at Tom Brady. He runs slow, he jumps slow. His arm is slightly above average, but he's accurate. His mind is the best, maybe the best in the history of all the sports. One of the best in the history of all sports. One of the best. And people say, you look at all the scouting combines, when you look at all the Super Bowl stuff, this guy, he can jump fast, he can throw, he's got a great arm, he's got this. Everybody's looking at physical. They rate the physical. There's no way to rate the mind. And the mind is the master. The best of the best of the best of the best. It's the mind. It's not the body. You have to have enough physical, but you have to have the mind. What makes Brady the best? He's going to be rated the best quarter. You can, let's say top 5. No question, top 5.
Absolutely.
He will be rated top 5 of all time in the history of the game. Why? Because of his talent. His talent's a C or C plus. A C or C plus. Joe Willie Namath. Well, maybe. I'm not sure. Going back, I'm not sure how he was rated coming out of college. But Tom Brady, he's a C or C plus physically. He's a zillion plus mind. That's why Tom Brady's Tom Brady. The mind is the master, and nobody has any idea at this point how sabermetrically how to evaluate the mind. But we all can train our mind, and mindfulness training right now is like so prevalent. And if anybody has the appetite for this, go look at the documentary called What the Bleep. Look up What the Bleep. And I met Dr. Hagelin. He's one of the foremost quantum physics experts of the physiology of the mind during meditation, during mindfulness meditation. When you can train the mind, you can develop the mind like you can develop the body. And when you get your mind in the right place, and you can train your mind, and it's a skill level. It's no different than any other skill. You can train your mind. And when you can overcome fear, worry, and doubt, which is the number one, again, public enemy, number one of high-level performance, and low-level performance for that matter, which totally shatters our own personal identity. Because you can be incredibly successful and you have this incredible setback. What people fail to realize that we all have failures. We all have setbacks. But a setback is an opportunity for our next comeback. And in a weekly basis in business and sports, we have daily setbacks. But now we have to prepare for the comeback. And they don't have to be monumental. They can be, minor. Okay, so going back to the husband and wife that got divorced and the business thing, it's like, okay, now we got health insurance. Okay, go look it up. You get an opportunity. Let's get a better health insurance plan. You get another opportunity. Let's get a better, financial plan, for 401k programs. You can go on and on and on. But that's what life is about. And if your mind can constantly shift and be in a happy, peaceful, let me backtrack. Forget about happy. Be in a peaceful, calm, focused space. And I say space. And I say space for one reason. Why people go on vacations because they want to get away from their life, right? And rejuvenate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So where do they go? They go to the beach. Why the beach? Space. Get sand, water, sky. Open space. They go play golf. Space. They go to the desert. Space. They go to the mountain. Space. They all go to space. When people get away on vacations, they go to create space in their mind. They do it physically. But if you can proactively do it mentally on a daily basis and create space in your mind and have a practice that you can clear the space in your mind so you can see things clearly. That's what Steven Soderbergh and Michael Lewis taught me during those times. And I've had a meditation practice since my early 20s. And I do a meditation practice on a daily basis because it creates space in your mind. And then you see things clearly. And then when you have to coach somebody and you're teaching someone, then you have to go to the mound in front of 50,000 people in Yankee Stadium in a playoff game. And Jason Nisenhausen, I put my hand on his shoulder, and he says, Rick, I can't feel my legs. In front of 50,000 people in the playoffs with a 2-1 lead, he goes, Rick, I can't feel my legs. I said, Izzy, you don't need your legs to kick a field goal. You need you to make a pitch. And that's what this is really about. That's what our book's about, and it says it in a really, skillful way from Judd, and that's what I want to share in corporate and keynote speaking and corporate coaching. To teach the leadership groups to say, you know what, you can teach your leadership, the people that you're coaching, you can teach them how to create space in their mind so that they constantly look at opportunities. It's a skill set, and it's a privilege of a lifetime, and I'm so privileged.
Well, all good stuff. The book is available online at Amazon.com, French time. And we're glad you could spend some time with us, and we look forward to speaking to you during the baseball season.
Oh, my pleasure. Let's keep in touch, guys.
Absolutely.
Okay, Rick. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure.
And best of luck with your book.
Thank you
I'll
so
speak
much.
with you tomorrow, Rick. And I'll speak with you tomorrow,
Awesome.
Rick. Okay.
Awesome.
So on. Okay, Craig, it's time for you to wind us down.
Yep. Weighted donuts for this evening, the last night of January. We're 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers. I know that gets you excited. It gets me excited also. Thank you for listening. Wayne, have a great week, and we'll touch base here again next week.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. Have a good night. Good night, everybody.